everybody. Hey, friends, book lovers. Welcome back to another episode of Gimme 5, author reviews and book reviews, or interviews. Yeah, that too. If you're new here, hello, and welcome to a cozy corner of the internet where books come to life, authors spill secrets, and stories connect us all. And to my returning subscribers, y'all, you are MVPs. Thanks for clicking back in. Today's episode is going to be a blast. So grab your favorite drink, fluff up your reading pillow, and let's get into it. Because you're about to meet someone who's not only written a book, but written a piece of her soul. Let's give them a big Gimme 5 welcome. So all right, my fellow seekers and magic lovers, today's guest is pure fantasy gold. Joining us is the incredible Verna McKinnon, a writer who proves that coffee, creativity, and the love for geeky things in life are the holy trinity of great storytelling. She's the author behind the Bardess of Rhulon, Bastard Sorceress, and the Familiar Tales series, including Gate of Souls and Tree of Bones. Yes, the kind of books that whisk you away into worlds filled with sorcery, soul-bounded animals, and heroines who seriously, sometimes literally, slay. Verna has over 30 short stories under her belt, and when she's not building magical realms and plotting fantasy epics, she's likely in Seattle with her husband. Too many books and not enough coffee. Okay, maybe too much coffee, but I can relate, Verna. I really do.
Yes. And when I don't have enough coffee, there's chocolate. So
there's the backup. Absolutely. She's a lifelong lover of Star Trek, Twilight Zone, and all things speculative. And she's living proof that if you dream big and write even bigger, you can create entire universes and maybe, just maybe, inspire others to do the same. So let's give a big Gimme 5 welcome to our fierce, funny, and fantastically imaginative Verna McKinnon. Hey, Verna, how you doing?
I'm lovely. How are you? It's been wonderful today here in Seattle. It's right now 68 degrees, and it's been cold. It has been so cold, and I don't like cold. But yeah, it's been warm today. It's been amazing.
So it's not raining. Because I always think, well, maybe it's Oregon. I always think of Seattle and Oregon is always raining.
It was raining the last several days, so this is like a hiccup of joy. So,
yay, sunshine! What is that funny thing in the sky?
Yes, the thing that I use my SPF for.
Exactly. Well, Verna, I'm so excited to jump in here with you. And I had asked you previously before we started recording if you had some physical copies that you can share with us of your books that I just mentioned.
Yes, first one is with my first novel and the first of the trilogy, Gate of Souls, which is book one of a Familiar's Tale. And then we have the second book of the series, which is Tree of Bones. And then we have the third, which is Fires of Rapabeshta. That's where the dragons live. So there's lots of magic, lots of... all of my stories, I've got 6 books out, and one thing about all of my books is that the central characters, and I'm good to the guy characters. I mean, I love a good hero and stuff like that, but I want my stories to be about where the woman, the heroine, is not shaping the man's story. She's shaping her own story.
I love it.
And you don't have to be a Xena, though, God, I love Xena. Going out there with a sword to kill. I mean, that's fine. But, you know, strong can come in many levels. And with Runa the Sorceress and Melipip her familiar, now, there is no such thing as a Wampu on Earth because all my books are secondary world. So my husband years ago found me this little guy.
Oh, cute.
Which is like what? Just imagine bigger ears and you have Melipip. He's Runa's familiar, and familiars in this world, they have a lifelong bond. They have kind of a telepathy between each other. You know, once they bond, and they have special abilities, and so and plus with my familiar as we were discussing before, is the animals that are familiars aren't just cats. I have a hedgehog. I have a porcupine. And a very grumpy badger named Debiro,
Perfect.
A wolf named Ariel, a cat named Sonora, which is Egyptian for kitten. I always try to give them cool names that match their personality. A 1,000-year-old owl named Belwyn, who is
Named what?
Belwyn. His name is
Oh,
Belwyn,
yes.
and he and they talk because they're magical. And with Belwyn, he's like kind of like the grandpa, like Cathal is the grandfather. But he's like the stern one. He's the one who bosses everybody around. And I don't know if you ever remember the actor Edward Woodward,
Sounds familiar.
British actor.
Oh, okay, maybe not.
In American TV, he did The Equalizer.
Okay, yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay,
very good.
That beautiful one. When you read Belwyn's dialogue, it's the sound of Edward Woodward. That's just so they all have their own voice. And so it's quite a saga. And originally, I was planning several books in a series, but I decided going with a trilogy because when you're with smaller publishing houses, as you know, things can get hiccups. Like right now, this particular trilogy is with a wonderful publisher, Wolfsinger Publications. Carol D. Heitschuh is the owner, and she's also edited some of my books and short stories. And I've had some of my short stories through her anthologies. And when the other publisher I had with these went under, she rescued them. And so they're on Wolfsinger Publications, along with being on Amazon. And
nice.
So that's great. Nice. And my other books, with these two here, The Bardess of Rhulon and War Poet. And there's another one coming to make up a trilogy on this. Is
How about
Rose
the War
Greenleaf
Poet?
is my heroine. Well, War Poet is a bard thing. And I wanted for years to do a story about a female dwarven heroine. But I wanted to make it different. And so when I was writing, it's all of a sudden this focus. And sometimes, and I should know this about myself, I can plan and do all this stuff. Okay, this is going to be this. But when I start writing, it shifts. It's like, nope, this is what she is. And so she wanted to be a bard. And in her particular world, in Rhulon, the dwarven women are very modest. They get married and have children. And Rose Greenleaf, she wants to go out and have adventures and be a bard. And her mother is just devastated, and Rose can't cook even. I mean, her mother has tried, and all Rose can offer is burnt pies, so.
Sounds familiar.
Yes. And so in order to fulfill her dream, especially when her mother backs her into a corner with a forced arranged marriage, before the marriage, she runs away.
I would too.
And she finds adventures, but she finds a purpose and finds out who she is, what her powers actually are, because she has a rhapsode power, which is very magical with music. And you'd have to read the books to go into all the detail on that. It's good. And she meets a lot of interesting characters. She ends up being abducted by slavers, and she meets, who will become a lifelong friend, a Meg Sparrow. Her nickname is Red Meg Sparrow. She is a ranger for the Emperor, and she's 6 foot tall, red haired, and Rose being a dwarven, she's like 4 feet tall and just very tiny. But and they become friends right off the bat, and so it's a lot of fun. So there's dark fae, and there's evil changelings, and there's a conspiracy. So there's lots going on. And so with War Poet, it expands on that because a lot gets wrapped up here. But with War Poet, things continue because Fallon the Dark Fae is still amok. The goblins which are planning a war to take over the world are running amok. And the thing about Fallon the Dark Fae is that there's things about him you realize that things aren't always what they seem. So there's lots of adventure there. And then with my other book, which I love this book because the Bastard Sorceress, because she is literally a bastard, and she's from a very society conscious driven and magically driven. If in this world, magic's currency.
Yes.
And she's illegitimate. She knew nothing really about her father. She comes to later, much to lots happening there. And she's poor. Her family's poor. They once had some magic, but they lost it. There is something called a plague, a mage plague, which hits like every 20 years, and few who survive don't have their magic. And her mother was pregnant with her when she had it, but she believes someday she can get her magic back. But she, what I love about, the main character here is Sabine Fable. And these books, by the way, they're published through the wonderful Thomas Gandolfi of Thames Taffel Press. I forgot to mention that in the opening. He loved Bardess of Rhulon, and even though I originally went with a publisher who was publishing my others at the time, who no longer is in existence, when I asked him when it was folding, if he would be still interested, and he said yes, and so God bless him.
Excellent.
He's a great guy, very boisterous. He's a writer himself. He has his own small publishing house. But with Sabine Fable, what I love about her is that she's spunky. She's spunky in a way where with like Rose and Runa, despite any internal thoughts, they always try to be nice. They always try to be polite. Sabine doesn't. If someone is being mean or abusive or insulting, she calls you on it. And basically, she talks back if she feels there's injustice. And if it's about someone she cares about, like her mother who she worships, she will come after you, and she's barely 5 feet tall. She's a little spitfire, and she will go after you. But she's a good person too. And she ends up under the wing of a sorceress named Vita, who thinks that they can cure this plague and also cure the side effects of losing the magic. So, and plus there's conspiracies and darkness and murders that lots happens.
Your mind is an amazing place.
It is a wonderland with chocolate and too much caffeine.
Fuel for the fire.
Fuel for the fire. And I'm going to be doing another book with her too called Lawless Magic.
Oh, okay.
And there's another book coming this is going to be a trilogy. The third book is going to be Ballad of Dragons.
What is it going to be?
A Ballad of Dragons.
Ballad of Dragons.
Like a Song of Dragons.
It.
Lots happening.
Mm-hmm. Love it.
I can tend to babble a lot, and I don't want to give away too much about the story.
Don't be a spoiler.
Because if you get me started, I go, well, this happens.
So with that in mind, let's talk a little bit about your characters. So your books, Verna, feature strong heroines, right? So
Yes.
What are the qualities that make a heroine truly unforgettable to you?
For one thing, that she is shaping her own life. We talked about that earlier.
Mm-hmm.
My female characters are not about shaping or supporting a man's story through the book. She is the story. And to make her story, she has to have a goal in life. And I've actually, I had a whole mocking thing about it in these books, is like avoiding the ring and the blessing, which is what they call getting married, because Rose doesn't want to get married.
Right.
And she wants a life. She wants adventure. She wants to be a bard. She wants to learn more languages and sing and learn all the poetry. And she has an amazing, beautiful voice. She's just a natural. And her story takes her, and it starts out being serendipitous, and then she ends up in a situation where there's a focus, and she ends up being very helpful to a kingdom. And you don't have to. The whole thing about strong women is that sometimes people have a narrow perspective on it, that she's got to be a bitch. It's like women in television. It's like if they're not an ingenue, after 40, they're either a loving housewife or a bitch lawyer. And I'm so tired of that.
I am so tired. I'm so over that.
Yeah, that's why I love things about science fiction. You read even some of the old TV shows. Look at Babylon 5. Great, strong women in that TV show.
Yeah.
Belen and Ivanova and Lita Alexander. And it wasn't about them getting married. I mean, there always seems to be an end goal with they have to get married. And sometimes there might be a marriage or two in my stories, but mostly it's going to be about them becoming, I think if you become your own person, that's where you become your own heroine.
I like that. And that's really true. I mean, the journey, right? And then able to learn from the journey. And I love the fact that your heroines, the women, the characters, are out there exploring, what's about me, and they're breaking the stereotypes, they're breaking the trends, the traditions, and they're doing their own thing, and it takes a lot of courage. So definitely to me, though, I like them a lot.
I like them too. I love my characters, and I have so many other books I want to write. In fact, I have a volume of, yeah, oh my God. Well, it's like I work full time for a living.
And you write all these books. I have no excuse.
All these books. And so there is no excuse. I mean, I don't have the.
I have no excuse. I should be writing.
I don't have the responsibility of kids, but I got 2 wily cats right now that are a handful.
I saw the little black one going in and out. And you know, Verna, you in your book, The Familiar's Tale, you have a lot of different types of animals playing roles, strong roles.
Yes.
So out of all those different familiars that you have, and personally the hedgehog's my favorite, if you could have one of them as your real life familiar, which one would it be and why out of your book?
Oh my God. Oh my God. They're all wonderful. I think, well, my heart goes to Melly Pip because yes, he's adorable and he's loving and he's just, you love him. Second choice would be Sonura, the cat who can transform into a panther. That's a cool thing to have.
That's handy, yeah. Attack.
Yeah, and the wolf. And look, I have a soft spot in wolves. That's like asking me which my favorite children are. You know, it's a mother. It's just so many. You know, and I love them. I just love them all, and they're a lot of fun. And I could probably do more books, separate books, just taking some of those characters and doing their own stories.
You really could. You know, so when you develop each one of these familiars, how did they like come about? Was it some element that your character needed in her life, your heroine needed, or something she was missing, something to teach her? How did you come up with the familiars roles?
It was just a question of need. You know, I want to do the animals and the familiars. And when I started writing, it just formed itself. It's like one of those things where I can plan like certain specific facts. But when I start writing, that's when it unfolds. And my writing process is I write the books on computer. I just go right to the computer, right? But the development is in many, and I indulge in buying pretty journals and notebooks.
That's nice.
Where I just write down bits and stuff, just, you know, like gathered information. And then I translate some of that to computer for safekeeping because things happen.
Yeah, and you know, that's interesting that you said that, Verna. A co-author of mine, a fellow friend, we wrote one of our first books together, Milo's Journey, about a handsome jellyfish, and we talk about and he meets a plastic bag.
I must read that.
Yeah, and you know, it's all about environmental pollution in the ocean and trying to create awareness there. But we were actually on the beach here in Haeundae Beach in Korea, waiting for the 4th of July, or not the 4th of July. It would have been equivalent to their 4th of July Independence fireworks. And they're amazing because they get pyrotechnos from all over the world to do these fireworks. And so you have to get a spot on the beach because there's over 1 million people that come, right? And it's crowded. So we started out like 4 hours before shoot the time for the show. And they go around selling little bags of chicken, right? And the vendors are out there, you know, chicken. So we bought chicken, and we were creating the story at the time about time travel, which I love. And what happened was that whole bag, I just tore it open. So it was one great big long page, and we just started writing the characters and just having this brainstorm. I still have that chicken wrapper. So I think that some of the best things, it's a bag.
Yes.
Some of the best things are written out, you know, famous stories and songs are written on cocktail napkins and, you know, whatever's handy, right?
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes it's writing a word or even a character's name can be the seed of a story. Yeah. You know, I've got one I'm working on now called Hourglass of Bone Dust. And it's going to be a tragic. My stories tend to have a lot of humor, even when they get dark. This is not going to have as much humor. It's going to have little bits, but it's going to be a different kind of story. It's and I have another one, The Myth of Red Stars, which is going to be a space opera.
Nice.
And I have too much stuff to write. I wish I would win a lottery simply so I could just stay home and write all day.
Right. Yeah. Right. That cozy little nook and then just go. Yeah.
Well, my desk is my favorite place, with all of my little court boards and all of my little like I showed you Melly and this, from Bastard Sorceress, a little baby dragon that she adopts.
Yes.
And this is the black unicorn from another story I'm working on.
Who doesn't want a black unicorn?
Oh, I know. But I just like doing things with, I think there's so many franchises out with fantasy stories and science fiction stories. I feel sometimes like there's that feral kind of wild imagination that's been contained. You think back to writers like Tanith Lee, who I think is very underrated. I just worship her. It was so sad when she passed away in 2015. She wrote over 90 books, 300 short stories, and God, I will never live up to all that. And she was amazing. And people like Robert E. Howard, who could say more in a paragraph than most writers can do a whole chapter. Just
wordsmiths,
and just with imagination, Ray Bradbury, who had the imagination and still had that layer of innocence beneath.
And that's interesting that you're talking about these are different people who inspired you, right? So do any of your characters have traits that are inspired by yourself or people that you know? And to be honest, who's gotten the novel treatment in disguise?
Believe it or not, nobody. I don't
really
base anything I've ever written on anybody I've ever known.
Wow.
I'm like somebody who might, there are some actors and stuff who might look like my characters. In fact, I've got my book Bibles, like my compendium. I mean, I know who Rose Greenleaf looks like, and this person looks like, simply because they had a bit of the character in their look or in their voice. And so I paste those into my compendiums as inspiration. But no, actually, nobody I know.
Really? Wow.
I'm sorry. It's just
don't be sorry. I think that demonstrates what an amazing imagination you have, because a lot of my characters in my books, I do pattern them off of a certain personality quirks of people that I know, right? And how they might respond, because dialogue has always been kind of a learning process for me to get the dialogue right between the characters. So, knowing someone's personality and how they might respond has helped me with that. But that is amazing that it all comes from here. You have an amazing mind. So creative.
Yes, but credit the caffeine and the chocolate. Just it helps.
Put it in an IV and keep it coming.
We used to say that when I was in drama department, when I was in university. I was a drama major. Yes, I was one of those girls in the 70s. Oh, God, I'm giving away my age. Edit that out. No, but seriously, it was like I did plays. I went to school full time. I did work study because I was putting myself through school. I ate out of vending machines. And I swear that we constantly made jokes about the IV and the caffeine. And it wasn't even good caffeine. It was the stuff out of those awful machines in the break room.
Oh, and the worst is the gas station coffee that's been sitting on the pot for it almost breaks the pot because it's been sitting there for so long. It's like battery acid, but I'll drink it. I need it.
Yeah, it's like an evil witch's brew.
Yeah, that's what it would be like, right?
Yeah. I also want to give respect back to the witch's name. There, every time, it's like whenever anyone talks about wizards or say, oh, they're a wizard, but a witch, it's like immediately people go to something dark, and I think that's wrong.
That's wrong.
So I have another story I'm working on where I'm going to give respect back to the witches. So.
Good, yes, because that's a whole other talk show, but because witches were based on the religion of Wiccan, which actually women who were, they were holistic, right? And they were nurses and they were herbalists, right?
They were midwives.
Midwives. That's what I was looking for.
I am a huge history buff, and in fact, when I was remember we were talking earlier, I was talking about how you have that first novel that you put away, never left. Well, it was about Merlin, and I was setting it in post-Roman Britain. I read like 387 books about the era.
Wow!
And from archaeological signs, how they did jewelry, swords, the fall of the Roman Empire. I over-researched, but I learned a whole lot. But, it's like the whole thing about what the women and all the shamans, whether they be male or female, they were the healers, they were the lawgivers, they were the midwives, and they had a very good place in the society. But when the church came in after 300 AD, they wanted to start crushing that, and they've been crushing it ever since.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
it's like the whole thing with, well, you get me started on history, I'll go off on a tangent. So I will rein it in at this point. But no,
you write
yeah,
that book, Verna. We need to put witches back in the good light because, yeah, they kind of got a bad rap from history. So, and thinking of that, the main character from the Bardess of Rhulon has access
Bardess?
to, yes, she has access to modern technology for just one day. What would she do first if she had access to technology for a day? What would she do with that?
She'd record the music.
Yeah.
Or she'd get an electric guitar and rock out.
And hopefully she has a tutor there to help with the technology, because you and I, we've conversed about being technophobes.
Yes, I'm not a phobe so much as it hates me. If technology can mess up it, and I deal with a lot of technology on my job. I work in a university and I'm an admin assistant, and I have to deal with all kinds of weird forms of tech, and it's always doing something to me. So, but it's still, I never get used to it. It's just, I often joke about, I want to return to the age of candlelight and quill and a scroll of paper.
I know. I can completely relate. You and I, we have a lot of common threads. So
no, it's oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just going to say, I was thinking about your novels, your fantasy novels and sci-fi. So, what was the first fantasy or sci-fi book that made you say, "I want to write stories like this"? I mean, what got you into this realm?
Oh, well, the first fantasy book I ever read was The Hobbit. And that spurred something. But when I discovered in a used bookstore, going back to Tanith Lee, and there was this whole line. In fact, it was her whole Tales of the Flat Earth series, that really wild fantasy series that she did, set in a time before our Earth, where the Earth was flat and a dark demon was ruling. And when I read hers, it was just so out there. And what I admire about Tanith Lee is not only her imagination, but she could go from science fiction to horror to children's stories.
Stories? How do you make that jump?
She did it all. And I think I've got all of her books and pretty much most of her short stories. It's like it's my treasure trove. And of course, Ray Bradbury, Robert E. Howard, because I love fantasy. And I hope someday they will one day make a decent Conan movie, because they never have.
But they will. You know.
Conan the Barbarian, his parents didn't die. His wife died. It was all invented for revenge fantasy for the movies. In fact, there are scenes in one of the Robert E. Howard short stories where he visits his parents in Samaria, and they're getting old. Yeah, how you doing, Mom and Dad? And then he gets bored and goes off on another adventure.
And go ahead. I'm sorry.
But yeah, it's just the perspective that people have been feeding fantasy in film and TV for years. A lot of it is just not good. When you find something good, you treasure it.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just going to say a little bit of trivia. You talked about Conan the Barbarian. When I was in Mexico, Guatemala, they were filming the series Conan the Barbarian. So I have my picture with Conan. He's a big guy wearing this little tiny, leather thing in the front here. I'm like, okay.
Yeah. What they don't go into in the movies or in the TV show is that Conan was smart. He picked up languages very easily. They had him be dumb pretty much in everything on film. Well, the one was Jason Momoa. He wasn't dumb, but it was, again, the revenge fantasy thing.
Yes.
But yeah, and plus he didn't just wear a loincloth.
Right. That's what I got.
Frank Frazetta, the artist who did those early covers that he did in oil paint on all the different Conan stories that they were releasing back in the 60s and 70s. He said it was more of a metaphor. It was more symbolic. It wasn't meant to be taken literally.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. He was an amazing artist. I just love Frazetta. So
here's another thing.
Mm-hmm.
So you've written novels, over 30 short stories, and I know you have a lot of ideas, but what's the wildest idea you've ever had for a story that hasn't been written yet? You mentioned a couple of ideas. What's the
Oh yeah,
wildest one?
there's so much. Well, the myth of red stars. It's about she's either going to be an anthropologist or xenoarchaeologist. It's going to be set in the distant future. She has a half brother who's part alien and he's a blue. And Earth at this time is very anti-alien. I'm not going to comment, but yeah. And her old professor has this relic, and it's like another something is coming for us, and it's scary, and it's from the Red Universe.
No wonder you put these down on a computer. You absolutely must just do a brain dump and just get it out, because you're going to lose all these great ideas, right?
It's like my brain, sometimes when you know how when you're laying in bed or you're like, you think of a good line or something, and I'll remember and I'll write it down later, and you don't. It's like your brain just deletes it.
Yeah.
It's like so punishing you for how dare you not write this down.
Oh my goodness. I'm thinking of that. If Hollywood came knocking on your door to adapt one of your books to a movie, which one would it be, and who might your dream cast be for the main roles?
Oh my God. Well, it would either be the Bardess of Rhulon.
Yeah.
And with Bardess of Rhulon, there is an actress who was in the Musketeers TV show in 2015. So she played Constance. She just looks to me like Rose, except she's not 4 feet tall, but with film techniques and stuff, what they can do. But her friend Red Meg Sparrow, in my mind, it has been Lucy Lawless with red hair. So I love Lucy Lawless. So
I do too. She's a strong character.
As a person, as an actress, and just she's amazing.
So here's a question for you. With the worlds that you've created, which one, if you had to choose, would you personally love to live in, and which one would you avoid at all cost?
Oh, I don't know. I wouldn't avoid either of them, but then I'm a crazy adventurous girl. They all sound good. Well, what's great about if I were a mage, if I were a sorceress, I would love to live in my familiar's chill world, because then I get a familiar for real, and that'd make me happy. I think that with bastards, this is a very prejudiced world, but it's an interesting world. Unless I had magic, I wouldn't want to live there.
Right. You'd have to have the magic for sure.
Yeah. You'd have to have the magic for sure. But and plus there is also the option though of getting a baby dragon like her. And they're Pukas dragons. And it's actually something I took from old European mythology. These little dragons that got to be about the size of a house cat.
Oh, so cute.
Wizards and stuff used to keep them as pets, and they're from the mythologies of like in Romania and Hungary and stuff. And it's like, interesting. So this Pukas dragon is what I adopted for this world. And he's still a baby now, and he loves bacon porridge. So there you go.
So cute. I love it. So let's talk about your geeky side, because we all have, and I love geeky. You call yourself a lover of all things joyous and geeky. What's your ultimate geeky guilty pleasure?
Oh, I have so many, because if
besides chocolate and coffee, right?
If there's a science fiction or fantasy series or whatever, I've probably got it in my library. I'm talking about the original Battlestar Galactica, the Star Treks, Babylon 5, Stargate. Oh, Stargate and Stargate Atlantis. I met Amanda Tapping at a Comic-Con and Marina Sirtis. I met them the same day.
Oh, wow.
Those women are amazing, and they are so kind. And it was like, you know how you're always afraid to meet your heroes?
Yeah. I don't know why that is.
This dispelled all of that. Marina Sirtis and Amanda Tapping were just amazing. I just
real people.
Yes.
Just real, genuine, nice people.
But yeah, I have my geek side is really out there. It's like I can even silly stuff, there is like, I've got this one silly series, and it's I keep it for the casket. She-Wolf of London, which lasted for one season, was done in the early 90s. And a lot of sci-fi fantasy shows. In fact, this week we just watched was made around 2000. It was 1001 Nights with Millie Avital, who was also in the first Stargate movie as Shara.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
I'm total geek. And plus I have my comics. I have my Wonder Woman. You know, I remember one of the presents my husband got for me was not an original, but it was a copy of the very first edition of Wonder Woman magazine comic. So
Wow.
yeah, I love that. So and I have my little baby Cthulhu. I can't even remember where we found this, but it was just so much fun. Okay, we have to take this home. Yeah, we're just a geeky household. My husband loves fantasy and science. In fact, he's the one who turned me on to Robert E. Howard and to The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings and all that. So,
Lord of the Rings. Wow, I love that series. I love the movies are just amazing. I can go back and watch them over and over again.
We do frequently watch. It's like comfort food right now. If you have a good fantasy series or something that, you know, like we just finished The Hobbit, and now we're going to do this weekend the Lord of the Rings.
Lord of the Rings. Very good. Yeah. Excellent. Sounds like a good plan for the weekend.
Perfect weekend, you know, cookies and Lord of the Rings. There you go.
Perfect. Never have enough chocolate chip cookies, right?
Yeah. Oh, no, chocolate chip. Or as Millie Poop would say from my Familiar Show series, Droba chip, because Droba was my world's chocolate. I called it Droba. My husband helped me come up with that name. My husband has been very, I remember when I was first getting the idea to write, and that was when I was going to do the Arthur thing. And he worked at a university library at the time, and he brought home like half dozen books on Arthurian legend and stuff like that. And it was like, that's so nice.
That's so wonderful. Your husband's very inspirational too as well, right?
Yes. We've been married forever.
That's awesome. Best friend. So I'm going to ask you one more question before we go. Do you have any advice for aspiring writers out there?
Oh, a practical advice is don't always listen to what people say. I mean, when you try to watch YouTube or read interviews about how to be a writer and stuff, people sometimes just have a checklist, and the checklist doesn't work. You have to throw out the checklist. Do what works for you, because like some say, write every day. I work full time. I can't write every day.
Right.
Yeah. And it's like, and then there has been find a story, find the genre that works for you. Once you find the genre that works for you, whether it be writing mysteries or writing historical fiction, fantasy, read books in those genres, find some good writers to inspire you. And if you feel like you're copying them at first, that's fine.
Yeah.
You're learning. There's no such thing as bad writing. There's only better rewriting and finding your voice. Once you find your voice, that's when you can take off. And that's what I advise. And don't be too discouraged by some of the people you see on YouTube, because, well, what we were talking about earlier now, how you see the perfect girl wake up at 5 a.m., you know, with her perfect Pilates set and making her cappuccino and journaling at 5 a.m. And then there's me.
And there's me.
Yeah, I'm pale as a goblin, huddled over a computer, you know.
We were talking about giving young aspiring writers some advice. And one of the things I like that you said was basically don't tell anybody your ideas. Why is that?
Well, for one thing, you know, sometimes some people can take your ideas.
Yeah.
And then sometimes people can just be judgmental. It's like, oh, I do that differently. Or that's not a good idea. Whatever. Bite me. The Irish side of me comes out.
Sorry, I love it.
Yeah, it's just for aspiring writers, and whether you're with small press, and small press is something that I think deserves a lot more love. Because I'm not self-published. I'm not with a major publisher. I would love someday to be with a major publishing house. But Tom Gandolfi from Tan's Taffel Press and Carol Heitschuh from Wolfsinger Publications. They are awesome. They produce awesome books, awesome writers, and there's a lot of great writers out there. But getting our art out to where people can see it and know it, and and that's why I appreciate this kind of interview, because I can share, this is what I've got, and I have to offer.
Well, I'm so glad that we're able to have this time with you. Yes. And the thing is, Verna, I agree, being authors, it's not just enough to write your book, but then you have to go market it. Even if you're published by, Penguin Press or something, you still have to go out and market your books. They're not doing it for you.
Yeah, exactly. Now they do have the option, like if they're a big publishing house, of getting you into the big bookstores. I don't have that option. I have to beg and plead. But that's it's complicated, and I'm coming up with strategies. One strategy I would have: first, find your voice, read the genre that interests you, and just keep writing until you find something that latches out. Because once you do, the rest is gravy. It's just the technical stuff. But yeah, like you said, I can't tell you how often I'm on Canva trying to come up with and I'm not an artsy from that, trying to come up with a book promo that I can slap on Facebook and Blue Sky, and I love Blue Sky, and Instagram. But yeah, it's hard. It's a never-ending battle. And small publishers, they have to go to all these conventions, not just selling online. They go to conventions, they set up a booth, and they ply their literary wares, so to speak. I know I've sat with Tom at a couple of them, like when he's come to town, and I say, rescue me. There's the king is holding me hostage unless he buy one of his books. Buy my book.
Throw up the white flag. I surrender.
But you just have to keep going and have a sense of humor, and not take so many things so seriously, because everyone's got an opinion. Doesn't mean you have to accept it, and it doesn't mean people. You have to follow what you want to do and what you believe in. And that's what I try to do with my characters. They kind of, in many ways, they're kind of extensions of me. They just make better choices sometimes.
Yes, I like that. Extensions of yourself.
To magic. I don't have access to magic, just technology, which hates me.
But you do have a black cat that we've seen walking around in the background. Yes. So you do have
two. Runa and Luke. Runa, I named after my character in The Familiar's Tale. And Luke, which I think is for Luke Skywalker. My husband Rick named the boy cat, and I named the girl cat.
That's fair. That's fair. Equality. So I have two more questions for you. Yes. All right. So you wake up in the middle of the night, and on your bookshelf has come to life. Which book character do you hope steps out first?
Oh my God. I have a couple thousand books, so. But from my favorites, I would like, I can't think of her name right now, but she was in the Kenneth Lee series. Black unicorn, red unicorn, gold unicorn. She was people thought she didn't have magic, and she did, and she's frustrated with her mother, who only thinks of herself, and she it's like, I want to meet her.
Narcissist much. Cool. That would be fun. Now she would be interesting one to have a cup of coffee with.
Yes. And cookies.
And cookies, yeah. Don't forget the cookies, please.
Can't forget the cookies. As a writer, I survive on junk food. Is my mainstay with the writing. It's like feeds the brain. What can I say?
Yeah, it's a little sugar rush, right? Just keep it going.
Yeah.
So here's the next one. Are you ready?
Okay.
Finish this sentence. Every great fantasy novel needs what?
Good story.
Good storyline,
just a good story, good characters. A good fantasy novel has many elements. One of them, good story, good dialogue, interesting with me, character. Let's go with that. Characters are essential. There's only I had a writing teacher tell me years and years ago, there's only like maybe 9 original plot lines in the universe. Everything else is a rep. If you look at, okay, example, King Arthur. What is Luke Skywalker? But another version of young King Arthur.
True. That's true.
There's only so many original plot lines in the universe, and good characters and good dialogue they're the spice, they are the meat that holds it all together.
Absolutely. Because if you don't have characters that have charisma and quirks and things that we can relate to and a good plot to go with it, you ain't got nothing. Right?
Yeah. Characters are important. The story is like the bottle and they're the Coca-Cola.
Yeah. Well, it's an empty bottle.
You look at Lord of the Rings, like Samwise Gamgee. To me, he's the most wonderful hero. He's kind, he's devoted, he's loyal. Frodo would never have made it to the mountain without him. To me, he's even more of a hero than Frodo. So it's like Frodo, good though. Characters are Aragorn, who is the epitome of masculinity in a good way.
In a good way, yes.
In a good way. He is sane masculinity. He is just, he's kind, it's like Aragorn is like a mythological character. But you need that. We need mythological characters in this world. Mythological characters, stories feed us. They let us know that, yes, maybe they don't exist, but, you can fight like them. You can be encouraged by them. They can show you the path.
Yeah, absolutely.
Terry Pratchett's good at that. I love Terry Pratchett. I have so many writers that I love. So it's like it's like picking my favorite characters, picking favorite authors is just
so hard because each one has a different element that you admire or relate to, and so to conglomerate them all together into one would be very difficult, I think. So now I said just 2 more questions, but I lied. Last question. What's the most recent thing that you're working on right now? I know you have a lot of trilogies going on. Is it the trilogy that you're working on now, or you've got to jump between them?
I'm working on religiously 2 stories right now. One is Ballad of Dragons, which is the 3rd book in my Rogue Bardess series with Bardess of Rhulon and War Poet. It's going to be the one I think that will complete everything.
Okay, good.
And the other one is about the unicorn. It's I have several working titles for it, but the story, I've got the characters, the story is there, but the title may shift.
It'll come. Yeah, it'll come. There'll be some inspiration. Well, Verna, amazing. Thank you so much for your time today. I'm going to put all your links and where people can find you and ask you questions and comment down below, ask Verna a question and subscribe and like and all that good stuff.
Absolutely.
So, and that's a wrap on this magical episode of Give Me 5, author interviews and book reviews. So a huge thank you to the incredible Verna McKinnon.
Thank you. It's been lovely.
Sharing your wisdom.
We must keep in touch.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for sharing your wisdom, your world building brilliance, and reminding us that coffee, courage, and creativity truly make the best spells. Verna, you are a delight. We can't wait to dive into your next fantasy adventure. To everyone watching, thank you for tuning in and geeking out with us and for being part of this growing book-loving community. If you've had fun, learned something new, or just love stories as much as we do, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that little bell so that you never miss an episode. We're going to keep getting more inspiring authors, bookish banter, and fun coming your way. So stay tuned, keep curious, keep reading, and I'll see you next time on Gimme 5. Verna, take care there in Seattle, Washington.
Let's
keep in touch. Bye for now.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye.